Hello and what is up, guys? Welcome to my Premier League predictions video. Now, before I get this video started and get into my predictions, I need to say three things total. So first off, these are my opinions, my predictions. Don't get too butthurt if I don't pick your team. Second, if you like the video and want me to do more predictions for different leagues, please let me know in the comments as well. Third, and last but not least, if you have different predictions than me, just be civil, leave comments in the comment section down below, and let me know who you are predicting to win the league and whatnot in the description, in the comments. Anyway, let's continue on and start off with number 20. So finishing last in the league, I have Burnley. Now, this is mainly just because I don't like their signings they've made. They just got promoted, so obviously it's going to be tough for them to stay in the league to begin with, but they've made signings like Marvin Sordell. Like, what were they thinking with that one? I mean, he's not even been that great in the championship, and now they're bringing him in as basically a second choice striker behind Danny Ings, and in my opinion, that's not great. That's not going to help you score goals. It's not going to help you win games. Sordell's not even that great in the championship, so I don't know what they were thinking there. They haven't made that many signings, so I'm going to have to pick them to finish last. Next up, and still getting relegated, is West Brom, and I really don't know if they're going to get relegated or not. The relegation zone's kind of hard to predict, because there's a lot of teams that could get relegated, but at the same time, a lot of these teams could, and I think West Brom's one of those teams that if they maybe make a couple more signings, they could stay out of the relegation zone, but at the end of the day, they finished 17th last season, and I don't think they've improved enough to get out of the relegation zone, so I'm going to pick them to get relegated this season. Let's move on to number 18. And in the last spot, finishing 18th to get relegated, is Crystal Palace. Now, this is mainly because they, Tony Pulis and them mutually consented to him being let go, basically, and my opinion, he was the main reason they stayed up last season. They were doing pretty bad until he came in charge, and when he came in charge, he basically sparked them to do well. They finished 11th last season, but now that he's gone, I'm not sure how they're going to be staying up. They're losing his tactics. I mean, he's not great attacking-wise, but he has a pretty solid defensive mind, so it's going to be weird losing him. I think they're going to get relegated. Let's move on. Just out of the relegation zone is Hull City. Now, they finished pretty well off last season. They are going to be in Europa League, and that's actually the reason why I'm picking them to finish 17th. They made some good signings. I mean, they signed Livermore on a permanent basis, as well as other good signings like Tom Ince, but they're going to have to cope with Europa League, and I'm not sure they have the squad depth to really handle both the Premier League and the Europa League. So in my opinion, it's going to be tough for them to stay up this season, but I think they can do it. I think they have a better squad than Burnley, West Brom, and Crystal Palace, but at the same time, like I said, they have to cope with Europa League, whereas the other teams do not. But anyway, let's move on once again. Number 16, we have the newly promoted Leicester City. They won the championship last season, and honestly, I think they have what it takes to stay up this season. It's going to be tough for them. I honestly think that them and West Brom could possibly be switched, but like I said, I think they have what it takes. I mean, Knockaert, however you pronounce his name, is a really good player. I think he's Premier League level, and also they have some pretty good players, so I think they're going to stay up. It's going to be tough for them, but I think they can do it. At number 15, we have Aston Villa. Now, a lot of people would argue that they're going to get relegated this season. They haven't made a lot of great signings, but they have never been relegated from the Premier League, and honestly, if anything's going to keep them up, it's going to be that, because, you know, when you know that your team has never once been out of this league, you're going to be playing a lot more confidently. You're going to have an edge to your game to know that, hey, I'm not going to be a part of the team that allowed this team to be relegated for the first time in its history. So I'm actually going to go with them to finish 15th. I'm going to let them stay up, and I think it's going to be tough for them, though, but we'll see how it happens. They're going to have to cope without Benteke, but honestly, it's going to be pretty difficult. Let's move on to number 14. So finishing 14th, I have Sunderland. They were in the relegation zone a lot last season. They did well to escape relegation, and I actually like a few of their signings they made. Rodwell was a bit much. Not sure 10 million was really worth it in my opinion. He's a good player, so if he can stay healthy, he'll be good for them as well. Barini, if they can actually bring him in, he'll be a good signing for them. Of course, he was on loan there last season, and if Josie Altidore can actually pick up his form and actually start scoring goals, maybe they can do well to stay up, but I think it's going to be a tough task for them. But they do have a pretty set squad, and their manager is also very good, so I think they will stay up this season, though it will be tough. Let's move on to number 13. At number 13, we have Southampton, and they did finish well last season. They did well, but of course, with all the signings going to Liverpool, basically, it's going to be tough for them. I was going to pick them to finish a little bit lower, but I do like some of their signings, like Pele and Tadic, and they're both very, very good players. Pele, I believe, will score a lot of goals this season for him, but it's going to be a rocky start for him, and I think that's why they're only going to finish 13th. Rocky start mainly because, you know, it is going to be hard for their team to get used to each other and build that chemistry with each other to be able to play well. So they're not going to start off the season well, but I think they'll finish well, and they'll finish 13th. Finishing 12th in the league, I have West Ham. Now, a lot of people could argue they could finish lower, but like Southampton, I think they're going to start off with a rocky start. They're wanting Sam Allardyce to play an attacking game, and honestly, I don't think he can do it. He's not really built for that. And I believe he might be the first sacking of the summer. Not the summer, but first sacking of the season. What am I talking about? Anyway, I believe they'll finish 12th. Like I said, rocky start, but then they'll pick it up well. They have great players. They signed great players like Valencia and Zarate and Kouyaté. There's some very good players as well. So I think they're going to finish 12th. Let's move on. At 11th, we have the newly promoted Queen's Park Rangers. Now, a lot of people think 11th would be really high for a team that was just promoted, but when you think about it, Crystal Palace finished 11th last season, and QPR, in my opinion, are a lot better than Crystal Palace. If they keep Loic Remy, they'll basically finish 11th. If they lose him, it's going to be tougher, but they have Loic Remy and Charlie Austin up front. Would be a great partnership. Austin's not the paciest, but Remy has the pace. Austin's more of a poacher, and that would be a great combination up front. In the back, they got Ferdinand and Kalker, both with Premier League experience, and they have a pretty decent midfield to go along with that as well as Junior Hoylett bombing down the wing. So I think they'll have a pretty solid chance of maybe finishing top half, but I'm going to go with 11th for that. Let's move on to number 10. Finishing in the middle of the table at number 10 is Stoke City. They're usually very good defensively, and I think they improved on their attacking game as well. So I think they'll finish 10th. They unfortunately will be dropping one spot from last season. They finished 9th the year before, but 10th, I think, is a solid spot for them. They didn't improve too much. They signed, of course, Bojan, but he's not... I don't know, he's been a bit of a letdown for most teams. He didn't do that great for Ajax, and now he's going to have to do well for Stoke. So I'm not sure if it's going to translate well, but we'll see. Have him finishing 10th still. At number 9, I have Swansea City. Now, a lot of people think this is a bit weird, but I do really like a lot of their signings. Gomes up front with Boney is going to be a lethal combination, especially with Shelby feeding them balls into the box as well. They have signed other players like Sigurdsson, who'll do the same thing as Shelby. They also got Jefferson Montero and a new keeper in Fabianski. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they can do. Their defense is their only worry for me, losing Chico Flores, but we'll see how they do. Let's move on to number 8. At the number 8 spot, I have Everton. Now, that's just mainly because of Europa League. They're going to have a bit of a task to do well. Of course, they didn't really sign that many new players. They only signed Gareth Barry on a permanent deal and Lukaku on a permanent deal, and a few more players, I believe, like Besic, I think's his name. But anyway, when Newcastle were in the Europa League a few seasons ago, and they had a good season like Everton, they struggled with Europa League and the Premier League at the same time. Everton haven't built much depth, so it's going to be a bit tough for them, but if anyone can do it, it's Roberto Martinez. He's a great manager, and I think they'll do well to stay in the Premier League and finish in the top half at 8th. But let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we have my club, Newcastle United. And it's going to be interesting. The only reason I have them above Everton is, like I said, Europa League. But I do think that they have what it takes to finish 7th. Signing new players like Cabela and Sam de Jong. Sam de Jong's basically going to be a Cabaye replacement, and I think he's going to be a really, really good signing for us as well. We got Riviere, who can score goals. We got Cabela, like I said, is basically a Ben Arfa replacement. I would love to see them two on the pitch at the same time. That would be freaking amazing, but Ben Arfa's basically gone. If we lose TOTTENHAM, it's going to be a bit tougher. We still got Colbeck, but it's going to be interesting. Our defense is my only worry, especially the two center backs. Steven Taylor is awful. If Yanga and Biwa can finally pick it up, they would be good in the back with Colaccini, but it all remains to be seen. Let's move on to number 6. At number 6, I have Spurs, and that's just because they have another season. They could possibly finish in the top 5, but I have them finishing 6th, just outside the top 5, because I don't think they strengthened enough, whereas the top 5 I think strengthened pretty good as compared to Tottenham. So we'll see what they can do. I believe with their new signings they signed last season, it'll be a better season for them, but like I said, it's going to be tough to break that top 5. Let's move on to number 5. At number 5, I have Arsenal, just missing out on Champions League. They could, of course, possibly get it if one of the top 4 teams win the FA Cup and Arsenal are in it or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, whatchamacallit, I have them finishing 5th just because of the new signings that have been made from other teams, and I can talk more about the other teams like Man United. Of course, you can already tell is above Arsenal, and I believe they've made a bit more of an impact in the transfer window as well. I think they're going to do a lot more tactically under Louis van Gaal, but it all remains to be seen. Let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we got Manchester United, and I was having trouble talking under Arsenal. That was weird. Anyway, Manchester United have them finishing 4th. Like I said, they're going to be improving tactically under Louis van Gaal. He's probably going to make a lot of players play a lot better. He's kind of scaring the crap out of them, and I would, if I was playing under him, I'd be playing to my fullest every single week. Everyone basically laughed at Moyes. That's why they weren't playing hard enough. But now that they got him in charge, it's going to be a lot better season for him. I still don't think they're going to finish top 3, but I think 4th is a very solid standing for them. A bit of improvement from 7th, of course. But let's move on to number 3. Finishing 3rd in the league, I have Liverpool, and that's just mainly because they lost Luis Suarez. They, of course, signed Lambert, but Lambert, I mean, what are they thinking there? If they brought Origi back or Origi back from Lille, which I don't think they can because that was part of the deal to loan him back there, I mean, if they would have just signed him there, paid a bit more money to keep him, that would be a lot better for him. Of course, he's young, so he's going to learn, but why would you make Lambert your striker over him? It makes no sense to me, but they, of course, made a lot of decent signings with Lallana and Marino, so I think they have what it takes to finish 3rd. They, of course, won't be finishing 2nd like they did last season, but I do project them to have a lot better season than people are thinking. A lot of them are thinking Suarez is gone, so they're just going to immediately fall down to 5th, but I don't see it happening. I think Sturridge can pick up the slack left by Suarez, and Sterling and Gerrard can just pick up the pieces in midfield, but we'll see what happens. Let's move on to number 2. At number 2, we have Manchester City. The champions of last season will unfortunately finish 2nd. They did improve a little bit, signing Mangala and Fernando, but I don't know if that's enough. I mean, Pellegrini isn't the greatest manager. A lot of people think he is, but he's not that great. Basically does the same thing every game, but they do have Yaya Toure, so I do think that they can do well, maybe even snatch 1st place once again. But let's see who's got 1st place, and it is Chelsea. So Chelsea, I have finishing 1st in the league, and that's just because of all the signings they made. Diego Costa, he's going to do well this season. Of course, Felipe Luis, they got tons and tons of good players. Arguably the best player in the Premier League in Eden Hazard, so I think they're going to finish 1st. Mourinho's basically a tactical genius, so I have them finishing 1st. But anyway, let me know your projections down below and see how it compares to mine. If I get 10 of these right, I will give away a Cristiano Ronaldo FIFA 15 card. So if I get 10 places right, you heard it, I'll give away Cristiano Ronaldo. So yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like as well. Let me know what your thoughts on the Premier League season is down below, and I will see you guys next time. I'm out.